What is up, YouTube? I'm Gaudet74 here, bringing you guys week 6 of the APM. This week we were taking on Love, coach of the Atlanta Aerodactyls. We are going into this game with a 2-3 record, while my opponent is going into this game with a 3-2 record. To recap what happened last week in the APM, we did unfortunately take an L after winning 2 games in a row to catch back up to 500. My opponent last week had some really good prep in making sure his Corviknight could outspeed my Magnezone, so it was never trapped by it. And because of this, he was able to win the game. And it was just big props to my opponent. He played really well. He's still undefeated. So that was all last week. But we're moving on into this week. As this week we face the former champion. Love won Season 2 of the APM, as he actually beat us in the finals of the APM Season 2 in a pretty cool battle, but overall he just played better overall. And this is the rematch I've been waiting for. I hope you guys are as excited as I am to have this rematch battle, as this is the first time I am facing Love since that finals game. Another note is that we actually have a streak, I have a streak, of either losing 4 games in a season or winning 8 games in a season, depending on the league. That's a really odd trend I have with my leagues throughout my draft career, but it's just something I've noticed. And if we do lose this game, unfortunately, we're going to move down to 2-4, which means that we're already at 4 losses and we're only halfway through the season. I'm trying to pick up this win percentage so we can at least stay away from that as much as possible. Usually the goal is just to go 500, 6-6 or better, but I always have my expectations a little bit higher than I should sometimes. So hopefully we can pull out a win, and that's why this game's big, as well as on top of a whole rematch of a championship. But in regards to our matchup, it's kind of meh. It's good in some ways, but it's really bad in others. I did drop my Lotic, and I have a Cloyster now. And because of this, he has a Cinderace, and you guys, if you guys are watching PTL, Cinderace has been putting in a lot of work. It's going to kick my ass here, because I do not have a switch into that thing. But you guys do not know the rest of his team, as we can go down and break down Love's team. This week, my opponent Love has a team consisting of Tornadus Therian, Manaphy, Cinderace, Tangrowth, Florges, Metagross, Donphan, Quillfish, Honchkrow, Zebstrika, Drampa, and Machoke that can Dynamax. Now I expect him to consist of Tornadus Therian, Manaphy, Cinderace, Florges, Metagross, and Drampa. He could bring Tangrowth just because Regenerator is really annoying for my team, as well as Quillfish if he wants the Hazard Stack, because I'm not bringing Defog this week or Rapid Spin. But outside of that, these are really the mons I'm expecting him to bring. Even Machoke with Dynamax could be a little bit annoying, but again, these 6. And the new mons, the only new mon he has on his entire team is Cinderace. And we know how good Cinderace is, as I'm going to go over threats on his team. The biggest one is the Cinderace. I dropped my Lotic, as I just mentioned, and I picked up Cloyster. Spoilers, Cloyster is coming offensively this week, so it's not really a switch into that thing. And Banded Cinderace just claims kills throughout my team. And because it's so fast, I have a really hard time revenging it too, because my speed tiers are so kind of trash, to be honest. And that thing is just easily the biggest threat on my opponent's team. Metagross is really annoying from a defensive standpoint because it just switches into everything on my opponent's team. Luckily, he does have Wish Passing in Florges, though Florges doesn't have the greatest matchup in the entire world. But if he does want to bring like Wish Florges, then Metagross can just become unkillable, and that's going to be really annoying in this matchup. Drampa is really good against my team for no reason. It completely walls Blacephalon. It basically walls Superior as well, and I can't switch in a lot of mons like Goodra. Magnezone, it takes 1 prediction, then it's dead. So I have to be really careful playing around Drampa if it comes. That thing is really scary against my team. And then an honorable mention to the Tornadus Therian. Not that the thing is incredibly hard to deal with, it's just that it completely walls my Superior, so I have to be careful about that. Luckily, Tornadus is kind of an iffy mon because it has to rely on Hurricane hitting, and we all know how that is. It's like Focus Blast. So I'm going to have to hope he misses a Hurricane or 2 in this game, perhaps. But I did mention that Cloyster is going to be banded, and I think it does really good work in this game. It breaks down a lot of his team. I just have to put a few things down. I'll talk about that more when I get into the Cloyster. And that is just basically a rundown of Love's team this week. What I am bringing to this game this week is going to be the Superior, Cloyster, Magnezone, Goodra, Gliscor, and Porygon 2. First up on the team this week is going to be Superior. Superior is holding the leftovers with max HP and a decent amount of speed to outspeed Manaphy, moves being Leaf Storm, HP Ice, Leech Seed, and Substitute. I actually had Aromatherapy over Substitute originally just because I felt like Substitute wouldn't be too hot just because Tornadus is coming. But I realized that you can't run Aromatherapy unless you have Overgrow. And there's no way I'm running Overgrow on this particular Superior set. So we decided just to run Substitute in the end. Toxic Spam was a little bit annoying, that's why I wanted it on here. But outside of Tornadus and the Drampa, at least like an AV Drampa, this thing actually does a really good work against my opponent. Oh, and the Metagross too, but I can subseed that down. It comes in on a lot of mons like the Manaphy, which is the main switch and I have for it. Donphan. Florges doesn't really appreciate this thing too much because it's not really doing too much back to me. Tangrowth, you can see like it has such a good matchup overall, except for the Torn T, that I feel like it was worth bringing in the end. And if I can get like a Leech Seed off on that, that's always cool too. Regenerator is annoying. And Cinderace is also a switch in, but unlike Torn, Cinderace doesn't get regen or recovery, so whittling that thing down would be a whole lot easier. And again, just Surf Speeds here is really nice, and it just chips down a lot of my opponent's team. Again, he does have a few hard checks to it, but if I can get rid of those, then I think Serperior could honestly be a really good win con in this game. Second off is my breaker of the week. We have Cloyster. Cloyster is max attack with the choice band, so I decided to do this in the end. Moves being Icicle Spear, Liquidation, Rock Blast, and Ice Shard. I wanted to run Shell Smash, I really did, but I just felt like with Metagross running around and Manaphy, it wasn't worth having like a one-time setup opportunity, while I can come in with the banded Cloyster and just do a lot of damage that way in the end. Because Icicle Spear does still like 30% to Manaphy, and Liquidation does around 30 to Metagross as well. I thought that was a good chip in the end. And Cloyster just kills everything else on my opponent's squad. Granted, he does have a few mons that are faster I have to be careful about. Again, Torn T, I can't switch into that thing. Or if it comes in on a clean switch, I can't stay in because Hurricane just nukes me. Cinderace, because if it's banded, which I'm assuming it's going to be, is going to just run house on it as well. And just a lot of things faster as well are dealing with the Cloyster quite fine. So I felt like the banded set would be better overall instead of the Shell Smash set, so I could at least try and break down those mons if they want to switch in on that for whatever reason. And that is the Cloyster for this week. Next up is Magnezone, and Magnezone is coming again, of course. Max attack, modest nature with leftovers. I decided an analytic over Magnet Pool because Metagross is faster than the Magnezone, and I'm not trying to trap a Metagross just to die. I have Volt Switch, T-Bolt, Flash Cannon, and Magnet Rise. So Magnet Rise is nice, so I can avoid Earthquakes from like the said Metagross. Tangrowth usually carries Earthquake on it. Donphan, because otherwise I completely wall all three of those mons. And Magnezone can have a fun time against them. It switches into Tornadus Therian really easily, unless it's carrying HP Ground. Same with the Florges, so I do have to scout out for that a bit. And the only thing that really beats this thing offensively once it Magnet Rises up is Cinderace. And Cinderace doesn't really appreciate switching into this thing. That and I guess Fire Blast Drampa with the AV, which I expect to come. That can take a hit and then Fire Blast me back. I definitely have to be careful about that thing. But, you know, Magnezone is just so good defensively. He's got great defensive typing, and it's got good enough bulk to take hits from faster stuff like the Manaphy. Metagross is faster. I can take any hit except for Earthquake. Honchkrow, I can take any hit from if it wants to be really fast. You get the gist. And Volt Switch is just really nice because his only ground type is Donphan, and I actually beat Donphan 1v1. I just can't switch in on it. And that is Magnezone in a nutshell. Fourth up is Goodra. Goodra is holding the leftovers with Sap Sipper with the moves Dragon Pulse, Ice Beam, Earthquake, and Toxic. This is very defensive. I don't have this is my best Cinderace switch in. And I barely want to call it a switch in because it still takes a load from Pyro Ball. This switches into Tangrowth, Torn, Manaphy. It's like a backup switch into a lot of mons on my opponent's side. I shouldn't use this thing early game, but I know I'm going to be tempted to just because spreading damage with moves like Dragon Pulse and Ice Beam are going to be really efficient. And if he brings Florges, I can just spam Toxic against this team because Florges is his only Heal Beller. I guess Manaphy is too, but like, come on, that's not going to be Heal Beller this week. And if I can pressure the Florges a bit and get some offensive momentum on it, that would be pretty great. But again, it's a really good switch. It's a switch into Cinderace, and I just have to try and preserve health on this thing as much as possible. Fifth up is Gliscor. Gliscor is holding the Toxic Orb as always. Moves being Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Toxic Protect. This is a rather offensive set with a little bit of bulk in it, just it takes a few extra hits. This is here just mainly to deal with Metagross. Metagross could have Ice Punch, and that's very scary, but I have enough speed to always outspeed it. If I can just get an Earthquake off, it'll do enough for me to just try and revenge it with stuff like Serperior or Goodra or whatever. You get the gist there. Gliscor is not crazy important this week. It's another way to deal with Cinderace if I keep it preserved, like health-wise. I do not have Roost. I only have Protect, so I have to watch out for that. I can't touch his flying types like Torn. I can't touch Tangrowth this week, which it kind of sucks. I wanted to touch that thing, but at least I do have Toxic on it, so I can start to whittle it down. And it's just a nice overall pivot in this game. Again, it's not the most important thing in the entire world, but I felt like it was necessary for a few things like the Cinderace. That Dynamax Machoke, like I mentioned earlier, is a little bit scary for my team, so Gliscor deals with that. And just a few other things. It's just a good pivot overall. And then finally we have P2. P2 is defensive with some spit def, moves being Foul Play, Ice Beam, T-Wave, and Recover. If I can T-Wave a lot of his team, like the Torn and Cinderace, they are crippled, and that would be absolutely fantastic. I can cripple Metagross, thus Magnezone can always deal with it that way. The Honchkrow, I guess, I don't know why I'm just naming mons at this point. But T-Wave is really good, it's really good and spammable. Ice Beam, he's got a lot of Ice Weak mons, which is nice, and Foul Play just for his physical attackers. It's a P2 is really fat, but since I don't have Milotic on the team now, I had to resort to P2 as the next best wall, because Milotic was better overall in this battle. But hey, you take your trades and, you know, whatever. And that's going to be my team in a nutshell. I'm looking forward to using Cloyster. I picked it up, really excited to use it, and I'm really still excited to use this thing. Magnezone's going to put in work, hopefully, and that's basically it for the team breakdown. We're going to head over to Pokemon Showdown, and we're going to watch the battle. Alright, we are here on Pokemon Showdown, and he did not bring the Metagross or the Drampa, which is absolutely fantastic to see. He did bring the Cinderace though, which is the biggest threat to my team, especially Magnezone, because otherwise Magnezone looks really good in this matchup, so I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind. In regards to the lead, I'm going to leave with Gliscor, because Gliscor is not the greatest in this game, but I do want to get my Toxic Orb off. He does have 3 knockoff users, so I just want to get those off as fast as possible, because I do not have Roost, and I want some sort of recovery. Turn 1, he leaves with Torn and goes for Hidden Power. I could go on the Magnezone, but I don't want him to debate me by going for Hidden Power Ground just in case, so I'm going to go on the Goodra instead, as he actually goes for Knockoff. And this really sucks because this really does limit Goodra's longevity by like a long mile. I'd rather Goodra's leftovers be knocked over than Magnezone's, but it still does suck a bit. Because Florges is here, I am going to click Toxic because that's going to be the switch in every single time. By the way, for the beginning of this battle, I do speed it up a little bit just because it's a lot of rinse and repeat just for the beginning portion of this battle. So that's why it's going to be going a little bit fast. I do learn some valuable information in these turns though, like this Tangrowth is most likely AV. It's either AV, no Spadef, or like Max Spadef, no AV maybe. I couldn't tell you to be honest. So I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind as well. And luckily, since he keeps bringing Florges in, I can use this sort of as like just to get my stuff up. Like I've been using Magnezone to pivot around a bit, but now I can get up my rocks with Gliscor. I don't think this Florges is going to have Defog. Tornadus, because I know 3 of its moves, and I'm assuming its last one's Hurricane. I don't think that has Defog either. Cinderace is probably going to be banded, and Donphan is probably his best way of removal, and Gliscor can beat that. So that's why I felt like rocks were really good, and it chips away at his regen core, because that is very annoying. I am limited. I know I have Magnezone and Goodra switching back and forth on Tangrowth, but I'm so scared to switch into Cloyster, because Cloyster is really good. It breaks through my opponent's team, especially with Rock Slump. I don't want to lose with that band. As I keep bringing Goodra out, I am limiting my Cinderace switch-ins, which is really scary, but outside of that, this is a really good first couple turns for me in this game overall. I do reveal Toxic on this Gliscor. This is actually a Calm Mind Florges, so I'm not exactly sure what moves he's packing on this thing, as he just switches out into the Donphan as I click the Earthquake and get some chip on this thing, not too much. I'm not scared of this thing, so I'm just going to throw a Toxic up as he throws up his own rocks. It's a little scary because I do not have removal, and Cloyster is a big part of this game, so I have to keep that in mind. Tornadus comes out, and he reveals that he's heavy-duty boots, so I have to keep that in mind as well. He's not getting rock chip, which is really annoying, as I actually stacked the Goodra here. I could have gone the Magnezone, but I didn't want him knocking off my leftovers just because of how good it is. So Goodra does go down, which is pretty big as I lose something there, but it's kind of whatever. I'm going to Volt Switch out here as finally I get this position I've been wanting to have, this whole beginning portion. Cloyster comes out, and I can just click Icicle Spear. With Rocks up, it's going to do about half the Manaphy, which is really nice. As Florges comes out here, I do finally slow down this video, and Florges is going to die to this Icicle Spear. Looking at this game, Scarf would have been pretty nice here too, just so I could have beaten the Tornadus and being that faster than Cinderace, but hey, what can you do? As I'm going to bring on Superior as my best switch into the Manaphy. Manaphy is a little bit scary for my team because without Superior and Goodra down, Manaphy is really good against my team. I definitely have to keep that in mind. I'm going to sub up as he subs up on himself. That's really smart because running a subset on Manaphy, because I could potentially miss Leaf Storm, and Ice Beam's doing a decent chunk. Luckily, I do hit my Leaf Storms here as I break his substitute. As he actually goes for the Tail Glow here, and that kind of threw me off, but I was kind of like, okay, that's fine. Now here, I know he needs Manaphy in this game, so I'm going to set up a sub predicting him to switch, as he does, and he's going to sock the Donphan, which is amazing for me, because now I get a sub up, And he's going to break my sub with Ice Shard, but I'm going to kill this thing with Leaf Storm, and he's going to be down him onto me, which is going to be fantastic. As he does Ice Shard, he doesn't even break my sub, which is great, and I miss Leaf Storm. And that really sucks. I don't know what he's going to do now, which is really unfortunate. It's put me in a really, not a bad spot, but pretty bad. Because you're going to see here, he does switch on the Torn. I sub assuming he's not going to... He's just going to Ice Shard again, but he doesn't do that. And now it just sucks because I'm going to get an HP Ice off on this thing as he HP Ices himself. I'm going to sub up first just to see what move he's going to go for. But that really sucks because he still has the electric immunity in the Donphan. And if Donphan was gone, then his team's pretty weak to electric as Tangrowth isn't doing too much to my Magnezone. So I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind. It really sucks that the thing is being able to stick around. I can't risk Superior. I really wanted to stay in there. I almost did. Luckily, I didn't because he did click Hurricane. If I lost Superior, the Manaphy sort of just sweeps through my team, so I didn't want to do that. I can click Volt Switch here as he's just going to U-turn out, and he's going to go out into the Tangrowth. Actually, no, I clicked Flash Cannon predicting this. My bad. As I do solid chunks of this thing, and now here's where I'm going to reveal Magnet Rise as I get a little bit lefties back. As I click Magnet Rise, and I'm hoping he goes for Earthquake instead of Knockoff. That would be really helpful for me as my opponent goes for Earthquake, and that's really big because now, except for Cinderace, I basically beat his entire team right now. So I'm going to click Flash Cannon as it does a solid chunk to Tangrowth, and you're going to see he does knock off my leftovers here. And this is where Donphan being around really sucks because T-Bolt's really free here. If Donphan was gone, it would basically claim the kill, but because Donphan's still around, he gets to switch into here. I'm going to click Flash Cannon this turn, and I am going to claim my kill, which is really nice. But the unfortunate thing is that instead of Donphan taking the damage, Donphan took the damage instead of something else. So now Cinderace comes in for free, and this is a really big turn because I basically throw the game right here, as he has Cinderace, and that is hella banded. That is a banded Cinderace, which is totally what I was expecting. As I should have gone out into P2. This is like a weird scenario because my thought process was that my Gliscor can't touch Torn, Tangrowth, or basically Manaphy, while P2 deals with those three, sort of. But Gliscor deals with Cinderace a lot better than the P2. So I'm not sure if this was the greatest play in the entire world, to be completely honest, as my only switch-in is this P2, and I don't even really want to call it a switch-in at this point. I'm going to click T-Wave. Hopefully he just stays in, but he doesn't. He makes a smart play and goes out into the Tangrowth, as I do get a little bit of yellow magic on this Tangrowth, and it's not paralyzed, which is kind of nice, but it's not really a big deal. I'm going to Ice Beam. I know knockoff's coming my way, but I can't really do too much about it, as he gets paralyzed here. And that sucks for my opponent, because I still have my Eviolite intact, which is really important in taking hits from the Cinderace. As now he goes out into Manaphy, takes some Rocks Chip, as I just go for Ice Beam. It doesn't do too much. I still have Superior, mainly for this Manaphy here. As if he wanted to pull double in the Cinderace, he would take more Rocks, which would be nice. But he just goes for Substitute. That is the smart play. He is not Salac Berry, which I was sort of thinking he would be. As now I can just spam Leaf Storm here, as he's going to click Ice Beam most likely. And he's going to click Ice Beam, and he crits me. And that really sucks. This sucks because it's 4-4, right? I know Cinderace is really getting into my team, but the next turn, either something would have taken a big hit, or Manaphy would have died. And basically, he would have came in and revenged me with either Torn or Cinderace, but then I would have had the momentum. While in this scenario, I take extra chip on P2, and I do kill the Manaphy, which is nice, but now he gets the momentum, which is really bad for me because it's 3-3. I don't have as more sacks as him. So I do get a knockoff. He does knock me off. I could have went on the Magnezone there, which would have been the better play. But the thing is, if he would have doubled the Cinderace, I would have lost right on the spot right there. So that's why I didn't do that. Now I go out into the Magnezone as he stays in and clicks Hurricane there, which is nice because now I can spam Thunderbolt because it's pretty free overall. Tangrowth really doesn't appreciate it too much, as Tangrowth is going to come in and get sacked here. It's not looking too hot. I did mention a little bit earlier that I do have Banded Cloyster, but Scarf in this scenario would have been so much better as Tangrowth goes down. And Cinderace is looking pretty good against my team. I'm going to sack my Magnezone because I know Cloyster with Ice Shard is really nice. And here's where I forget that HJK exists. This really sucks because I was calcing. I live a Pyro Ball most of the time, even without my Eviolite, but not high jump kick. So I need to hope he misses here as he does hit and I do just straight up die. That's not a roll. That's going to kill. And basically, I needed him to miss HJK and Hurricane to basically have a chance in this game. And I go for Ice Shard. It doesn't even do too much. And he's going to hit his HJK. And just like that, the battle's over. We are going to lose 2-0 to Love in a pretty close battle overall. happy with this battle overall, even though we both got pretty unlucky in some scenarios in this game. But it was still a good game overall, so GG to my opponent, Love. Despite losing this game, yes, another loss in the APM, this definitely has to be my favorite battle of the season. At least throughout the battle, it really felt like a competitive Pokemon battle, and I was really hyped about that, and that's why I love competitive Pokemon. Just sometimes you get that feeling, and this battle, I had it throughout the entire game, and I was really happy about it. I think we both played well overall. There was a little bit of hacks in this game, and I personally do feel like it was a little bit worse for me, but it wasn't completely whack, and I'm not going to blame it because it's Pokemon, and I could have played better and maybe positioned myself better. Scarf Cloister would have basically won me this game if I played it the exact same way, but hey, it is what it is. That's the way I prepped. Thank you, Love, for the game. I really appreciate it, and GG once again. We are 0-3 against Love. By the way, I forgot to mention it earlier. I might put a note at the beginning of the video. The finals game against the Love that I had a long time ago will be in the description below if you guys want to go check that out. That was a pretty good battle overall. You guys know the result, but at least if you guys want to see it, it's going to be down there for you guys. But again, GG to Love one more time. We are 2-4 in the APM, which is really unfortunate. We're not doing too hot in the season. I apologize, you guys. I hope you guys are still enjoying the content despite me continuously losing in this league. Hopefully we can pick it up. Luckily, my division is not doing too hot either. The teams are 3-3, and then everybody else is 2-4 as well, so it's not all that bad. We can still come back from this. Next week, we do face a division rival who is 2-4, and that is Beardy Dragon. Last time we fought Beardy Dragon, we got demolished, though that matchup was one of the worst matchups we ever had. This time, it's not going to be as bad, I don't think. He is the coach of the Boston Bruins, and the Boston Bruins suck, so we need to beat him in order to prove that, Philly teams are better. But that is going to be next week's video. Thank you guys for watching so much. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you like Pokemon at Draft League content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm out of here. Have a fantastic day, YouTube.